know that as parents, we're responsible for them, right? And through prayer, we can get to these answers, and that one day we're going to be held accountable for the decisions that we make for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
a sobering
strong.
fact.
Welcome back to The Uncomfortable Truth. We are just super excited today with our OG guest, Obi and Shane and myself. And
I don't think, are we guests now? I think we've been here enough where we're not considered guests anymore, right?
Yeah, we're the originals. And so we're super excited. We're going to be talking about kids today. I have a quick little story here that I want to share. It's called The Starfish Story. A man was walking on the beach and he saw a boy picking up a starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. There are thousands of starfish here, son. How do you possibly think you're going to make a difference? He quickly reached down and picked up a starfish and threw it back into the ocean. And he said, I made a difference for that one.
I like it.
Yeah. So, it just makes me think about how we can speak into our children's lives and how we can make a difference for every kid that we interact with if we're just intentional with each and every individual that we talk to. And I know how super important that is. We can make a difference in that one, and a lot of people, man, there's lots of kids out there.
There's lots of kids. I am totally a believer in that, making a difference in one. I think it's, in reality, we can only make a difference. Jesus can only make a difference in other people through us. It's almost one at a time, right? Even on this podcast, if 100,000 people see a clip, it's one. And Courtney and I encourage our kids all the time to bring their friends home, like have them come over and hang out here, have a safe place for their kids. We talked to, especially Miller, our oldest. She just turned 7. Nope, she's not 17 yet. Right? Crap. She'll be 17 in September. Goodness gracious. That's when you have 3 kids. She's developing deeper friendships than our 13-year-old and our 11-year-old. And we tell her, like, you don't know what these kids that you hang out with, that you play sports with, that you are doing life with at this moment, you don't know necessarily what all they're going through at home. And we don't mean that every other kid has a bad home life. We just say you don't know. And so, but what we know is that we can be intentional and supportive of those kids with the time that we have with them. It may be after a volleyball game or, hey, great job. We say this to our kids, but we try to also say it to other kids too. I love your attitude. I love the way that you encourage your teammates. That play you made was great, but that's not the emphasis. Typically, it's encouraging who they are, not what they do. Obi, you had some stuff about kids. I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, I do. We all have kids in sports, and before we got started here, we were talking about just the different culture that we live in today. We've talked with coaches that we've had on the podcast. We talked with Coach Alan Metzel, a couple months back about just how he's been doing it for years and years. Just the culture's so different. The kids aren't necessarily different. It's just the culture's different. And I feel like that we have, I feel like we have a parenting problem. I don't think it's a kid problem. I think we have a parenting problem. And I think it's kind of an epidemic. I don't think it's like a one-off struggle here and there. Like, I think that we have kind of a parenting problem epidemic in our world, especially in the United States. And I don't know. I know it stems from a lot of different things, but one of the things that I think is irrefutable that it stems from is social media.
Comparison.
I think it stems from the effects that our minds have had, not solely because of social media, but in large part because of it. It's changed our world over the last decade and a half. I mean, would y'all agree with that?
Very much so.
100%.
So my daughter has been hitting me up at least 3 to 5 times a week about Instagram.
About getting Instagram?
About having Instagram on her phone. And
how old is she?
She just turned 15, and she as of what I found out day before yesterday is she's officially the only friend in her friend group that doesn't have it. Okay, so
sad. Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna defend your kid for a second. That's hard, and you have set boundaries, obviously, because she doesn't have it up until now. She's the only one. You feel like you're on an island. Like these kids that don't have it. My daughter has an Instagram account, but does not have it on her phone. It's specifically for recruiting. Okay, so we've having to kind of navigate the recruiting journey and having Twitter and Instagram. That's the two. She went through a similar stage. It's tough being the only one. All right, so back to you.
Well, it's you feel isolated as a parent as well. You feel like I'm making the wrong decision. Maybe I'm being too hard on my child. Maybe I'm looking at this through the wrong lens. And it's not that I'm 100% completely like not okay with it. You're not getting it. Like I'm not there. I'm just not on the other side either. And so because
the benefit, like what benefits does it provide?
Right. And so like I'm in a place, I'm in kind of the middle, and I haven't leaned over to the side of, okay, I'm okay with you. I'm comfortable with you going ahead and putting this on your phone. I haven't got there yet.
What are you, so just thinking about social media in general, what are the biggest cons for children, for kids? So anybody under the age of 18.
I'm glad you asked.
Hey, he's prepared.
I'm glad you asked. So these are all from different studies. AI generated, but they're branded with the study, and so each one's a little bit different. But so there's a lot of ways that it affects the minds of our kids. But these are some of the more predominant ways. And these are always things that I felt were true. I just didn't know how much it actually affected these children, So and when I say children I mean
and adults,
teens and young adults is the studies. Okay. The studies that I'm going to read are regarding teens and young adults.
You've had an idea that social media, Instagram, may not be good for your child. She's asked you a lot in the past couple of weeks, so that has spurred you to do your own research. Is that where we're headed?
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Real quick, I just want to throw this out there, and this is just my immediate thought for children. I would think like at the top, and I'm interested to hear your list. I would think at the top would be a false sense of reality would be like the number one type of deal.
That's definitely in here, not the exact verbiage, but hits all around exactly what you're talking about.
Without further ado,
here we go. A study tracking 12,000 teens and young adults over a 3-year average showed that daily social media use has skyrocketed in that group from an average of 10 years ago, 7 minutes a day, to an average of now 94 minutes a day of strictly social media use.
Holy crap.
In kids. So it's like a 12-fold increase over that time period that we kind of talked about.
Okay.
So during that same time period, depressive symptoms in those same 12,000 rose by 35%. Yeah. So 35% of those 12,000, 2, 3 we're looking at 4,000 of the 12,000 had significant depressive symptoms that rose, and those were specifically on the teens and young adults who spent more than 3 hours on social media. They double their risk of health disorders in the event that they spend 3 or more hours a day on social media. Their risk of a mental health disorder doubles. It goes up by 100%. It goes up by 100%. 80%. This is scary. 80% of young girls manipulate their look with filters, and 52% of young girls use filters every single day of their lives on social media, because 60% of all of those young girls feel upset that their real appearance doesn't match their edited version on social media.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
All of those numbers are over 50%. 80% use filters, 52% use them every day, and 60% of them say that they're upset that they don't look like their filter. What does that make? How does that make y'all feel? Because that terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
It scares the crap out of me too. It's like these little girls, young women are so malleable. You said earlier when you're talking about coaching parents and kids, we don't necessarily have a kid problem. We have a parent problem, right? And I totally agree with you, because what a coach will tell you is that the kids are typically fine. They can deal with consequences as long, you lay out the consequences beforehand. And if you don't meet these expectations, then this is what you're going to have to do. And the parents get involved and try to save them a lot of times, or try to run over their problems. But the kids are malleable and will shift according to their external pressures,
Right.
positive or negative, such as a filter and trying to be somebody or look like somebody, even if it's a version of themselves that they're not.
And where do they come up with that version, that new and improved version of themselves that they think they should look like?
From a filter.
They come up with it. It's created in their mind because
of everything they're seeing.
of everything that they're seeing. 100%.
You think about the enemy trying to destroy you, your kid.
It's an excellent way.
We're made in God's image, right? God loves us. He made us how he wanted to make us, in his image, to be like him. And he loves us that way. He loves us for who we are inside, how we look on the outside. He loves us no matter what we do, if we're coming back to him. But he still loves us anyways, right? We're sinful human beings.
I mean, it's almost like
it's programming.
Right.
It's programming.
And I know that I'm in the
You're in the minority.
I'm in the extreme minority in this, but I think about the effects of pornography on young men. I know it affects young women as well. I think about the effects of these things that we know. We know that they're bad. And we know that the pornography industry is a multi-billion. It's like one of the biggest industry, maybe the biggest industry in the entire world. From a standpoint of how these people that own these publishing companies and these internet websites and all of the ways that this pornography is spread throughout, the world. They're getting rich off of this. And I go as far as to say we've got eyelash dealers and Botox fillers, and we've got all of these people that are making money off of liposuction and all of
I thought you were going to make another rhyme. Eyelash fillers and Botox. What did you say?
I don't know.
You
I don't
were
know.
rhyming. I thought there was going to be another one.
I don't know. But I think about, every way that a woman can go in and manipulate her body to look like this filter that she's created in her mind. And like, how is that any different than the guy that is selling porn? Like these women are
selling an
I know
image.
that's a little extreme.
Yeah, the pornography is way more evil.
I realize that it's extreme, but is it like, how evil is it that
that they're
we're
telling your kid that they're ugly,
yeah,
or that they're not pretty, or they can be prettier, or
Well,
whatever.
let's break it. Let's break porn
this is
down when it comes to
They're feeding off their insecurities.
it's a mental disorder.
yeah.
Like
It's an insecurity.
pornography creates mental disorders too.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like it, and is one more. I realize pornography is more of an extreme evil.
Sure.
I realize I agree with that, but from a mental disorder standpoint,
But hold on a second.
how different is it?
At what point does it become a mental disorder? Because it's not just a mental disorder if a girl has an insecurity.
He was talking about pornography.
Yeah, no, but we're talking about like how it makes the kids feel.
I'm talking about how the statistics here say that you're twice as likely to develop a mental disorder if you spend more than if teens and young adults have spent more than 3 hours a day on social media. Mental disorder, to develop a mental disorder.
Depressive anxiety, those kind of things.
Depression, anxiety, all of those things. I mean, that's what I'm
Twice
talking
as likely. Okay, I thought you were just saying the kids that struggle with it have a mental disorder.
No.
Okay, you're just talking about. I understand.
The kids that are
I misunderstood.
Yeah, the kids that are subjected and that
are twice as likely to become depressed or
have a mental disorder.
Right. Okay.
And again, access to pornography creates mental disorders as well.
I think about when you compare like pornography to these girls, women, the idea when a man watches pornography, he's trying to satisfy something that honestly cannot be satisfied. But the visual of that is super beautiful girls that are doing these crazy things that whatever you think you're into as a man, that's what you're going to go looking for.
Right.
Right. And it's these visuals of these beautiful women doing these crazy things that you may think as a man that you want to do. Okay, now compare that to that man's married. That woman finds out that her man's been looking at pornography. This, Courtney and I have been through this. There's typically an immediate feeling of I'm not good enough. Like he's searching something out over here of what he wants. I can't meet that expectation, which could also lead into body modifications. Like these are just some side effects. It doesn't happen with every couple or every woman, but it puts this, it's like this undue pressure. I'll just give my personal experience of like the way Courtney felt when I was pretty much addicted to pornography. It was hard for me to explain to her that like, this is me. This is a hard issue that I have, and the Lord's working on me with it. And it doesn't reflect how I feel about you. That didn't make sense to her. That's how I felt.
Right.
But it didn't make sense to her. She couldn't hardly make sense of it. And I couldn't explain it in a way that made her understand, which is very reasonable because that would be the logical conclusion for a woman.
I can't make sense of how a beautiful young woman doesn't believe that she's beautiful
Yeah.
because she has so much access to all of these. This is how you're supposed to look. This is how the world wants you to look. This is how these men want you to act. This is how these men, hope that you'll fulfill their desires. And it's, to me, a very similar, a very paralleled correlation, how men and how our brains are affected by pornography and how women's brains are affected by access to so like comparison via social media platforms. It's I think it's a parallel. I don't think that it's exactly the same. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's exactly the same
Similar.
by any means. I think that there are
You're in a similar thought process, a similar vein.
yes. And I think that it can be
The
equally destructive.
I think what you're saying is like the devil understands where to prey on your weakness.
Right.
And pornography may not be every man's weakness, and comparison may not be every woman's weakness.
Right.
But these are weaknesses that we have because we're humans and we're sinful.
It can absolutely send you down a similar path of destruction.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, more statistics, but 63% of teens and young adults have had a surge in eating disorders in the last 10 years. 63%, and it's specifically talking about young ladies. Okay, that does. We haven't even scratched the surface, guys. Like access to inappropriate content. A study found that nearly 25% of the videos that feature young ladies show them in revealing clothing, and that these attract significantly more appearance-focused comments, and that those 25% of those comments are about in some cases the child or young teenager or young ladies' appearance, highlighting their sexuality and their and unsolicited attention. To
Validation.
That's right. They're getting validated. For wearing inappropriate clothing that's only going to heighten their struggle with how they're supposed to look.
Man, I got a message for dads out there. It's time for us to lead. It's time for us to step up. Let's be specific with daughters. I was convicted not long ago that I need to love on my daughter physically more than I currently did. Give her hugs. Tell her you look beautiful. I'm not good at those things. I never have been. The only person who's trained me to do it was one. It's my wife. Very good at it with her. With my children, not great. So I've had to make a concerted effort to do that, to hug my daughter. I love you. You look beautiful. Guys out there, if we are not as dads validating our children in correct and positive ways, some other man will. And do we trust other men? And I know the things that go through our heads on a daily basis that are not good, that are not godly, that we have to deal with. Every other man is going through the same thing. And if we're not validating our daughters in a godly way, somebody else will. Do we want that?
Yeah.
Do we want that? We better start making an effort, bro.
You're not lying.
We better start leading.
It's a scary world that our kids are living in, and they are, when they have access to all of these platforms, who knows the guys that are actually influencing them in some form or fashion. Like some of them are very much predators, that are seeking to, do harm.
Yeah.
And one of the scariest statistics for me, just with where I'm at right now, And, you know, where I'm at with Addie and just not knowing, you know, what to do is 39% of teenagers and young adults felt pressure to post content for likes and comments, and 40% felt the need to post only to look good to others. So it's peer pressure. Like it's like everybody has it but me, Dad. You know, everybody has it but me. And these girls feel pressure from each other
Mm-hmm.
to post on these platforms so that they can get likes and comments.
Which in turn makes us as parents feel pressure for our kid to allow something that may not line up with our beliefs.
yeah.
It's a scary thing, and and how do you police that? How do you,
It's a good
I
question.
mean, they're going, and I mean, you can rest assured that your daughter's going and she's getting on her friends' phones
Sure.
and looking at Instagram. I mean, it's happening.
Yeah.
And how do you police that in a way that she doesn't resent you, or she doesn't want to rebel, or she doesn't want to, and that's been a difficult thing for me. I have three beautiful daughters, and I've always been very skeptical of social media, and we've tried to, like, we would always for years just grab their phones and go through them, like just randomly, not the
Mhm. I
unannounced.
don't need notice to
That's
go
right.
through my
That's-
phone
Well,
because
that's
I
my
pay for
phone.
that.
Let me
That's
ask you
right.
this.
And-
In that vein, you know, Sean, have you ever grabbed that phone and seen something that you didn't like?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So how well, and then what? Like what happened next?
They may have gotten grounded from their phone, or they may have had to delete whatever TikTok or whatever it may have been that was causing an issue. So yeah, I mean, I can remember a time whenever Lexi, we had no clue, had gotten on her iPad whenever she was probably, oh gosh, I I can't remember. She was probably like maybe 13, had gotten on her iPad and created this TikTok account. Well, then when she got a phone, like at 15, at the time, she was 14 or 15, I think, when she got her phone. Anyway, she had posted her phone number on an Instagram account.
Oh, dang.
And in the middle of the night, for like 6 weeks straight, some random dude was calling her in the middle of the night and saying, "Hey, Lexi," and like freaking her out. And anyway,
that would freak me out.
block the number, starts calling for, and then I'm like, I get involved and I'm trying to figure out this phone number. I'm doing the reverse deal where you pay to figure out where the phone number's coming from. Well, it ended up being like this house in North Carolina. Well, then he called from a different house in California. So it was like he was screening the call. The guy knew exactly what he was doing, but so yeah, I mean, and that freaked me out. Yeah, I mean, I'm like wanting to go find the dude, and all this stuff. But there is predators out there, and it's our job as parents to do our best to protect them. How are we doing that?
What's the best way to do that?
Yeah,
That's
it's very, 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 very difficult if they have iPads. I mean, make no mistake about it. I called the other day, and your son
answered on the iPad.
answers on his iPad.
Yeah.
And so I mean, like these kids are smart. They can get on there and they can grab that little device, connect to your Wi-Fi, and sit in their closet in the middle of the night, and you don't even know that they're on that platform.
Yeah.
You're sound asleep thinking everything's kosher, and it's not.
So because of that, do you give them full access to everything? Like
No,
what's the
I know.
end?
There has to-
Because you feel like that they're going to do it either way.
No, you have to set limitations. You have to figure out. You have to say, be off your phone by this time. I mean, there's things that you have to put in place, and measures you have to put in place, and it's still not foolproof. I mean, you're still going to fail. There's still going to be things happen, but the fact that you're aware of it is huge. I mean, it's huge, and the fact that you are going in and you're grabbing your kid's phone. I mean, I've grabbed London's phone. I pray with my kid. I mean, that's huge. Praying with your children. I do it every single night. I pray with London every night. We still got one more. Our other two are grown now, but pray with her every night. And then I'll randomly grab her phone and just go through it. you know,
Yeah.
and or I'll hand it to her mom and be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
go through
run through this thing. You
Mhm.
know what to look.
Yep.
I think I've been scared to death because of my struggle with pornography to put a device in my boys' hands. It's a big fear of mine. And my middle son does have a phone. There's restrictions on there. He's got an iPhone, and I check his restrictions, and we have, you know, the passcode to screen time and all that stuff where he can't get on Safari, and he has to get approval for apps,
I
and
want to touch on those restrictions real quick.
they can get around them.
So on the restrictions, my kids, they all three had restrictions on their phones. Okay, two of them were going to and grabbing mom's phone whenever she was in the shower or in the tub and taking those restrictions off, and then finding another time to put them back on there. When we caught them, we caught two of our kids doing that.
Well, you have to have a screen time password to do that, to
Right.
take the restrictions off. But I was talking to another young lady a couple weeks ago, and they found a hack that this is crazy.
Oh.
That if somebody calls you on FaceTime, you can do like a screen share where they can take control of your phone from their phone and somehow take restrictions off. So she would do that.
Who
Take-
would?
This
A
is-
friend of
yeah,
somebody?
a friend's daughter.
Mhm.
She would do that, take restrictions off. Her friend would take the restrictions off so she could get on Instagram or text whoever she wants to text or whatever. And then she would memorize like all the settings that her parents had and go
Put 'em
back,
back.
put them back on.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
That's,
there's
what
that's
would-
crazy.
so
There's
what
so
would
many
you-
hacks.
So what would you do if your child did that?
Take their phone away.
100%. I
For-
think
for a-
They're
for-
grounded for a month.
For a week? For a month?
Yeah.
For how long?
No, I don't know. It depends on the level. For me, it depends on the level. Like where I was going with pornography is that I should be as diligent about that with my daughter for the social media in comparison.
Yeah.
Like I haven't placed the same weight on that. If I've grabbed my daughter's phone one day to check, and this is something that I would have to have a discussion with my wife, but if I
Sure.
found something extremely detrimental to her on there, I go back to first thing I'm going to think is, why does she have a phone? Okay. Well, she has a phone. Really, when it boils down to it, it's because it's convenient for me, not her, me.
Yeah.
It adds a level. It's like why she has a vehicle at this point. Well, it's convenient for our family. It makes it easier for our family because she can get herself to her own events, which is a huge benefit to our family. The same thing with a cell phone. It's convenient when I need to talk to her, when her mom needs to talk to her, when her grandma or grandpa needs to get a hold to her for family. It's not necessarily for friends. So I'm going through that. Well, why? That's why she has one. Well, do you really need all these other things on this phone? Not really. If it's extremely detrimental to her, if she's broken our trust, we've worked with this phone to try to build trust for the last 3 years, and she's done very well with it. If there's a moment where that trust is broken in a severe way, Daddy's probably going to get a flip phone. And we're going to go back to the basics of you can make phone calls and you can send 3-word text
Right.
if you need to.
Yeah.
That's probably
Like,
going to be the consequence.
I mean, like, honestly, like that's where my head goes. It's like, you're not ready for this.
Right.
Based off of what you've shown me. Here's your flip phone. You can make calls. That's all you really need this phone for.
And you can go in the bathroom in school. Well, they can't even have them in school anymore.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's crazy, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I ain't mad at it at all.
You know, and so again, it's to each their own. You know, I understand that we're all trying to do our best as parents to help our kids grow, you know, and where the rubber meets the road with this, in my opinion, Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Guard your hearts. Guard your hearts. Well, as parents, it's our job to guard our kids' hearts. And I believe that to my core. I believe that the Bible speaks to it. I believe it's our job to guard our kids' hearts. And I would just encourage parents to do that in the best way that they that they know how. And if you're not sure what to do, I would encourage you to reach out to trusted friends, trusted family, counselors, you know, maybe people, you know, look to people who have a product that looks like maybe how you want your product to look.
Families that eat dinner together every night where no phones are on. Families that go on vacation and put their phones in a box. Families that rely and look to each other and have positive relationships. Ones that you look at. This is not the comparison of like, I wish I had that. I'm jealous of that. This needs to be the perspective of they're doing something right. Not that they're perfect. I don't view them as perfect. Nobody is. But the perspective of, I know them well enough to know where their intentions lie,
Where their heart
lies.
is.
Yeah. We as parents have kids that have grown up looking at screens. And that's because it was convenient for us. We've helped cause this problem in our kids. So don't say, I've said it before. I've heard other dads say it. When I grew up, we just went out in the woods, man. We built a tree house and we find our friends and swim in the creek and blah, 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 blah. We didn't stay inside all day. We're outside playing. Mama told us to go outside and come back when dinner's ready. Okay, great. But that same dad, I'm pointing at myself, handed a 2-year-old an iPad because he didn't want to deal with him.
Yeah.
Now we got to work the other way.
So is it a kid problem or is it a parent problem?
It's definitely a parent problem.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And I want to say this real quick. We have a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 16-year-old. It is hands down worse. It's the worst ever with the 16-year-old. It's way more severe of an issue.
Because she had it from the time she was a baby.
Yes, it's way, way more severe. I mean, like our other two, if we were just tracking them, it was with Baby Bach, you know, the VCR Baby Bach. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but that was more like a Baby Einstein.
Yeah.
The Baby Einstein video cassette videos, you know, that was more like there as a child. I can vividly remember London handing her a phone and letting her watch cartoons on my iPhone, you know, whenever she was like 2 or 1.
When you're sitting at a restaurant trying to enjoy a dinner or whatever.
Yeah. And it was more of convenience for me, right? You know, and but yeah, it's been way worse with our third child and the struggles with everything from comparison to her wanting exactly like what Obi's talking about, his daughter's wanting right now. Hey, all my friends have it. Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? You know, it's all comparison and a false sense of reality. And it's been the largest struggle with our third daughter. So now at this time in history, it's the worst ever. I think it's only getting worse. You know, I don't think it's getting better. These social media platforms have figured out how to get to our kids in a massive, massive way.
They're smart, man. They're super smart. Okay, so I'm assuming that we're getting close to closing out, but we got to bring it back to you. So after all this research about social media and platforms, where do you stand at this point?
You know, and again, like this is the struggle that I'm having. It's like God hasn't given me a peace about saying, hey, full access, you know, and we're going to be checking your phone every week or whatever, or every day. Like God hasn't given me a peace about that. So
have you thought about putting like a limit, like limitations, like, hey, look, I'll tell you what, you can use it from 8 to 9 every night, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have access any other time, but you have to use it from the iPad or whatever.
Or you have to be in the living room when we have a cell phone rule in our house that no kids can have phones in their room. So So what that does is the kids end up hanging out in the living room and my room.
Right.
So we have to be okay. I have to be okay when I'm ready to wind down a little bit. If a kid is laying in my bed on their phone or iPad or whatever.
So like the more that I think about it and the more that, we get to this road of Addie's ready for an answer.
Yeah.
She's ready for an answer.
Do you think she's ready even if it's a no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, but
No, that's any kid,
but
right?
she's going to get an answer out of me. I mean, last night we're leaving the volleyball game. Hey, Dad, since we won, can I have Instagram on my phone? And I'm like, I said, Addie, I said, do you want the answer? I said, do you want the answer that you don't want, or do you want to give me some more time to decide? I said, which one? She rolls her eyes.
She knows you well enough.
She rolls her eyes and walks off. And it's like, I'm not rushing through this, and so, yeah, the more that I think about it, the more that I think it's going to come to a way for me to maybe allow access to something, that I've been putting off. I feel like that my putting it off has obviously stirred some thought in her mind that maybe there's a little bit more to this than I don't realize. And so I think it's made her think more and more about how it could possibly be negative for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't having those thoughts. And so the longer that this has gone on, the more important and serious I think that she understands it is that she didn't know before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think that it has been I think that it may evolve into, hey, I'm okay with this. You've been allowed to have your phone in your room because you haven't had access to these things. Granted, right. I'm not an idiot. I realize that
Sure.
maybe she found a way around it to do something. And so, maybe it's a way to say we're going to increase restrictions in this area, and we're going to keep a really tight grip on this ad if you still want it and you want to go with it.
Will you go through, obviously there'll be expectations
Mm-hmm.
and guidelines and boundaries. If you guys decide to go that route, will you go through this list of stats with her?
100%.
So I just want to say one of my, I guess, just reckoning in my own mind has always been this for me. I've always been afraid that I don't want to give my kids full reign over anything, right? I mean, I want to protect and coddle them. You ask any of my friends and they'll tell you that I'm a helicopter parent. Like, they're like, daggone, man, this dude's like on top of his kids. And it's, just because I know this evil world that we live in, and I really try to do my best to be on top of my children and to guide them down that righteous path as much as I can, knowing that they're going to fail, pretty often. But I just want to encourage you, Obi. I feel like if you give her that freedom and put those restrictions on her, I've always been afraid that my kids are going to turn 18 years old and then just go crazy, and I've seen that happen with people in college that I went to college with, I'm like, their parents always had this. And so I've always been afraid. I never wanted to be that dad that my kids went crazy in college. what are the ways you can mitigate that? Well, you don't want to over shelter them, but you do want you want your children to know that you love and trust them, And so I think giving her access, I feel like is going to gain huge brownie points for dad. And at the same time, I think it's going to limit any chance at all of her turning 18 and be like, man, I'm going to go do whatever I want to now because my parents never let me do anything. So I feel like there's a fine line there. And I've always tried to walk that fine line without hurting my children, and without either way, I mean, it's just you don't want to. So anyway, I just feel like there's a lot to say about that and the fact that I can see Addie now, just knowing her, I think she's going to be incredibly excited that she has this opportunity, even though it comes with limitations. And I think you're going to gain a ton of respect from her. And at the same time, even more. So let's just say you said, not even a cell phone until you're 18 years old. Sorry about your bad luck. I don't care. This is why this is going to happen. Like if you were that parent, I feel like that's going to have a bunch of ramifications down the road.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a question for you. I think every kid's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should raise our kids like they're different. And I know that you have 3 girls with 3 different personalities. That first year of college, that was me.
Mm-hmm.
I did go out and do some crazy, stupid stuff. And it's just by the grace of God that I'm still here. As an adult, I realized that wasn't my parents' fault. I was out on my own, making my own decisions to a certain extent. And the consequences of those actions are fully on me. My parents raised me with Christian values, just like you have. I knew and still know that they love me. It was pretty strict. However, I understand why. So as an adult, I place zero blame on them for doing the best that they could. That they were awesome. When I say the best that they could, that almost sounds like I'm giving them a pass. I'm not. They were fantastic. My parents are fantastic. Still are. Super involved in our kids' lives. Very supportive. They're just awesome. I can't say enough how awesome they are. Those decisions that I made were on me. So my question, Sean, is why do you, I understand like why it scares you that they might do that, but do you feel like does it scare you as a reflection of how you raised them, or that they're rebelling in spite of you if they do that?
Mm-hmm. I feel like that you can over suppress and over shelter your children to the point to where we used to always joke because we knew some people in college that were pastors' children,
Mm-hmm.
and they were bad, dude. I mean, like there were some bad things that they did, to the point to where it was like way worse than like anything I would ever do. And I was not a pastor's child,
Did you were you more stern and protective of y'all's first child, Madison, than you are?
I was definitely
last one.
So
last one.
I feel like just historically people were always harder on the first child.
What does Madison ever talk to you guys about the difference between the raising of her versus London, your youngest?
You remember we had Madison on the podcast?
Yes.
And she said that I was the most strict parent, and so I would definitely say that we were more lenient with the third one. Yeah, and by the way, we're more lenient with the third one, and also have some of the most struggles with the third one. So
but also
I feel like I crossed that line of leniency too much with the third child.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Like
so
also you grow,
I felt
right?
I should have leaned more right with the third child as opposed and been closer to that. Hey, I should have had more restrictions with her and been more strict with her. I feel like, and laid down that law a little harder, maybe the way I did with Lexi. Listen, all 3 of our children are wonderful, but I do 100% feel like our third one, which is where mom and dad got more chillaxed, right?
And you're kind of tired.
Yeah.
You're kind of tired.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
It's like, do I really want to fight these battles
our first
all the time?
Our first 2 children are incredible young adults.
Yeah, they are. I've met them. They're awesome.
And our third, man,
she's gonna be.
We're planning on getting her launched too, and so we're trying to work through it. But gosh, I can't tell you how many mistakes we've made.
Parenting is difficult.
It is. It's very difficult. It's a struggle. But I feel like you can over suppress. I feel like there's over sheltering and I feel like there's under sheltering. I mean, there's a fine line.
I agree 100,000%. There's a really fine line there, and I think that, like you said, Shane, every kid's different. You got to go about. You can't. You just can't parent every kid the same. It's they're all gonna. Some are gonna rebel more. Some are gonna be more straight. And at the end of the day, I feel like that we just have to lean. We got to lean on the Lord for guidance in how far we should lean one way or another. And I know that this is not a popular topic. Okay, so like
It's kind of hard to talk about.
it's difficult to talk about because everybody just loves and adores their children, and they want them to be great people and great adults, and they want them to be a light in people's lives. They want and everybody thinks their kid hung the moon. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody thinks, my mother-in-law says every crow's is the blackest. Every crow's crow is the blackest, and what she means is everybody thinks that their kid's the best crow, the best kid. And, and if you're involved in sports or you realize that is an extremely true statement. If you get your kids around other kids in any type of competitive environment, you're going to, I mean, I don't care if it's sports or band or jiu-jitsu or whatever,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
You're going to find out real quick that particular parent thinks their kid hung the moon.
The parent talk I was telling you guys about earlier, this is the coach of the junior high football, he's over 7th and 8th grade football. He said, it cracked me up, man. He said that every parent in here thinks that the 10 best players and their kids should be the starter. I was like, yeah,
A lot of truth to that.
Right. There's so much truth to it. And so we realize that this is a sensitive topic. We realize that you may have done everything that you knew to do, and you think you did it all right. And maybe your kid has got some struggles in one regard or another. And it's like, well, I did everything right, and I did all of these things you guys are talking about, and my kid's still struggling.
they're going to. This is life.
Yeah. Our kids struggle too.
Yeah, they do.
And they're trying to navigate this world with all of these, things that they're inundated with, and all of this comparison and all of this epidemic of having access to all of these
Everything's
terrible
fighting
things.
for their attention.
That's right. That's right. Everything is fighting for their attention. So we know it. It's something we think of often, and it's why we're talking about it today. We want to seek wise counsel as it relates to how we can raise productive, good-hearted, compassionate, empathetic, loving, Christ-like kids.
Yeah.
that are strong,
Amen.
Know that as parents, we're responsible for them, right? And through prayer, we can get to these answers, and that one day we're going to be held accountable for the decisions that we make for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's
it's a sobering
strong.
fact. It's a sobering fact. So take this for what it's worth, but Proverbs 4:23 says to guard your kids' hearts. It says guard their hearts. And I feel like that's ultimately what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to guard my kids' hearts. And so anyway, take it all for what it's worth, lead like Jesus would lead. And if you don't know how he would lead, then you can open up that book and find out.
Yeah. Close it out. I was going to say that it's likely that your youngest won't care a lick about Instagram, which would be nice to not have to deal with it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Hey, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us. Hit those buttons at the bottom. Help us reach more people for Jesus. Go kick the day in the face, and we'll catch you on the next one.